So I have this awesome idea that I'm like, hey, Lenny, can you please dress up like a stripper and show up at Hillary's grandma's house? Now, he's never met Hillary before. And be a stripper. So he's like, okay. We made him a shirt that said psych on it. So Lenny shows up and he knocks on the door. And Hillary's like in the middle of like opening gifts or something. And what was
I'll go now.
Okay.
He has a boombox. He walks into the middle of the room. My grandma's like, woo!
Grandma was so excited.
And I was like, oh gosh, what's happening?
You're listening to the Calm,
The Storm,
the Whimsy
podcast.
In this episode, we are going to talk all things marriage and relationships. Marriage can bring many highs and many lows. We thought it would be fun to share a little bit of our own stories with you. So ladies, let's start with how long have you been married? And I think it's funny, before we started this, we were asking each other, wait, how long have I been married? How long have you been married? What year did you get married? None of us really knew. You did, Crystal.
I did, yes.
So I have to look at the number you gave me.
I think the funny thing about that is we've been married that long, guys.
Right, that we forget. We forget how long it's been.
It's been a long time.
So I've been married 18 years. And that's only because you told me so.
16. That's because I talked to Lenny before this. I have the worst memory. Like, I know when I got married. But, man, how can it be 16 years already?
It's crazy.
17 in June.
That's crazy.
What about
17 years. It'll be 18 in May. So, yeah, that's
So how did you meet Aaron?
I met Aaron at the riverfront, Rockin' on the River, in the fall of 1999. My friend liked him. And I went with her, and that's where I met him.
Oh, boy. Are you still friends with that friend?
I am not.
What about you, Kelly?
So I met Lenny. My friend Heidi and I went to a college church group, and I met Lenny. And he was just a fun guy, and he actually set me up with his friend. That was like my first.
Wait a second. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So we were going there a
Lenny
while.
set you up with his friend?
Well, he was kind of in a relationship, and another guy there was like, hey, can you introduce me to her? Because Lenny and I were kind of friends. So we did, and we started dating.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But one funny thing is, Heidi and I used to make fun of Lenny because he had a 30-point system to dating anybody.
Oh, my gosh.
You have the tangibles and intangibles, and then, you know, all
So
the point
basically-
systems that he had. Like, you had to score on that to be eligible to date him, apparently.
Oh, so he was Jesus.
Whatever. Not perfect.
So, it was just cool because he didn't want to waver on what he wanted.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
like, he wanted to make sure they had good character and that he was attracted to them. And
Ooh, so you better feel really good about yourself.
I do. But at
You
the time,
Better than Mark.
beat the
I
system.
used to make jokes with him and, like, draw pictures of somebody and be like, does this girl make your 30-point system?
That's amazing. Well,
Jinx.
yeah. That's awesome. So,
How about you?
oh my gosh, this is an embarrassing story. So I was like 16. He is my husband, and I can't, this is ridiculous.
He is your husband.
He is, but I cannot call him by his first name. I never have. I was not introduced to him by his first name. So his name is Chris. He is not Chris to me.
Honestly, I've never heard you say Chris.
I can't do it. It's weird.
It's kind of weird to hear you say it.
I know I can't. His name was Blake when I met him. That's how people introduced me to him. That's who he was to everybody. So I always called him that. I thought that is what his name was. So when we got married, I'm like, well, I can't call him by my last name anymore. So I'll just call him husband or hubby or whatever. That's what I call him. Cannot call him Chris. It's really weird. Anyway, I was 16 and I went to Blossom with Kelly. Was it just us?
It was us. We were there with somebody. I don't remember who.
Yeah, well.
It might have been my sister.
I thought I was going to say your family. Somebody
Yeah.
in your family. And it was like the symphony at the Blossom.
It was really cool. Yeah.
But like my memory of it as a 16-year-old girl was like, there was just like a lot of older people there. So like I'm looking around and everybody's older than us, like old people. And all of a sudden, this guy comes walking down the path towards us.
And she goes, who is... Well, he talked to me. She goes, who is that? And then he came and talked to me for a minute. And she just... It was crazy.
I was like, he is hot. So I said that, and then he came and talked to her, and I was so embarrassed because she told him that story later in front of me, because eventually he started coming to our church.
Wow.
But that was our first meeting. He was with another girl, and I remember her name, but I won't mention it. Yeah. And...
So, yeah, it was... She was like this giddy little girl because she couldn't even speak right for a while because she was so excited.
Oh my gosh. So anyway,
Huge
that was
crush,
our moment. Yeah.
But
So
way
what is-
older. How many years
What is
older?
the age difference?
5 years.
Oh, okay.
So he was 21
Okay.
or 20, and I was 16 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Robin the Cradle.
yeah, I tease him about that all the time. So how long before you started dating after you guys met your significant other?
I don't know. I have no idea. Because I dated that other guy for a while. And then that ended badly. So I'm just like, I'm not going back there. So I just left. I'm like, that was stupid. So anyway, I stopped going to church there for a while because I had another church. I just stopped going to the college group. And then I started dating somebody else. And out of the blue one day, remember Katrina? Like the hurricane?
Yeah, I was trying to think of a woman named Katrina, but no,
So
the hurricane,
my
I remember.
boyfriend was in the military, and he had to leave for that. And I got this random phone call from Lenny saying, "Hey, I'm having a party. If you want to come." And I'm like, "Well, my boyfriend just left for Katrina, so I'm not real sure." And I wasn't gonna go there by myself, so I was thinking about Heidi. Well, here Lenny was going through his phone on break at work, either inviting people to his house that he was house sitting to have a party, or he was deleting them.
Oh my gosh.
So I actually got a phone call. So anyway,
Kind of close to my 30-point system. Not even close. Delete. Kind of close. Not even close.
So I didn't.
Sounds like you.
Sounds like me.
Yeah.
Sounds like a 7.
Yeah.
So I didn't go.
That was a good choice.
So when did we start dating? Oh gosh, this is kind of a long story. Real quick, I'll try to tell it quick. So anyway, boyfriend's in Katrina. He must have had his party. I don't know who all showed up to that. And then boyfriend and I broke up, and I was super sad. And I worked in Fairlawn. So my friend Kim was like, "Oh my gosh, Kelly, come on." So she's like, "Let's go to lunch." Like she is. I mean, it was awful. So I go to lunch, and Lenny's like, "Hey, how's your boyfriend?" And I start crying, like stupid, like. And then he's like, "You want to get some coffee sometime?" And I'm like, "What is happening right now?" So, first of all, he was seeing someone, or kind of seeing. He was seeing someone, and
Again,
second of all,
sounds like me.
Yep.
second of all, he doesn't like coffee. So I don't even know why he asked, and we didn't even end up going out from that point. But so that's kind of where it sparked. But then I ended up talking to him on the phone when he was driving to West Virginia in his Camaro without heat for 3.5 hours. So we were talking a lot and stuff like that. But then the story just evolves. Like, it was around Christmas time. I'd put little things on his car and like notes. Kim and I would like stealth in there and like hide it. And Lenny would call me and be like, "Another thing showed up on my car today. I don't know who it's from." He had no idea. So this
He
went
didn't
on.
know it was from you?
Because there was other girls who liked him because he was a hottie. So
'Cause
everybody
he's a 7.
wanted Lenny Dewey McKinney. So anyway, I was putting these things on his car, and then he's like, "The workers are all on it now. It's like they're all looking out." So I borrowed Kim's car. So Kim brought me, and we were like putting stuff on his car. But anyway, we decided we went to like a movie or something, and we came back, and we both had this conversation how we were not going to date each other. We didn't want to. It was like 2 hours in the car running in my driveway. We decided we just aren't ready yet. I just got out of a relationship. He just got out of a relationship. We're just not where we want to be right now. So then he tries to leave, and his car breaks down in the driveway.
Oh,
So he comes back to
no.
the house. He's like, my car broke down. Do you care if I come in? No, I don't care. It's okay. So we talk for a while. He's in there for about 45 minutes. He goes to leave. He gets like halfway up my street and his car dies. So he comes marching back down. He's like, do you mind if I come in? Then the rest is history. Then it led from there to dating. So
Wow.
that's kind of how that happened. We tried to not go there, and God's like, heck, this is happening. I will break his car down.
I'm not
4
letting
times.
him leave.
So it was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did God break his car down, or did he fake it?
Well, it probably kept overheating as we
Sat in
and
it
talked
so long.
for 3 hours, but we'll just say that it was the way it was supposed to be. It was
Wow.
a cool part of our story. He
That's
worked
awesome.
out that way.
So, do you remember like a first date or no?
I was trying to remember a first date, and I remember going to see Chronicles of Narnia in the movie theater. But I mean, we went to his, like, Heidi and I went over there. It wasn't a date for WrestleMania, and then
WrestleMania.
I went over to his dad's birthday party. So I met his whole family, like
Wow.
like his aunts and uncles and everything. But like the first like official like big date was probably Valentine's Day, but we had been together for like a month. So he took me out to some steakhouse. I don't remember which one, maybe Outback. And then he sang a song to me, Making Memories of Us.
Aw.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
And Outback?
No,
In the car.
in the car.
I
No,
was
it was in
joking.
my basement. No,
That's so sweet.
I think I have that timeline right, but Lenny is way better at those kind of things than me.
I'm sure it's close enough.
Yeah.
That's funny.
What about you? How long did you date? Or what was my question?
How long were you friends before you dated?
No, what was your first date?
After you met,
Yes.
Yes.
how long before you started dating? That was my question.
So when we met at the riverfront, Aaron had already known who I was, and I did not know that. And he was asking lots of friends about me and who I
He
was.
had his eye on you.
Yeah. He said that, so like I used to work the information desk at the toddler area, like at our church. And he said that I waved to him one time, and like I don't remember that.
You're like, there was someone standing behind you.
I'm not sure if that was for you. But so I would say, so our first time that we were alone, so we had lots of friends that were mutual, and we did a lot of things together. After I had met him, my friend was still really into him, and so we did a lot of group things. So we did lots of movies and so forth. But the first time, and I wouldn't call it a date, but the first time that I was with him and we were hanging out, we hung out with a group of people. We always went to Wendy's on Market Street after our youth group events on Sunday nights. And he always ran sound for our youth group events. And so he was, he needed to take some movies back to Blockbuster that they had rented for whatever we were doing that night at church. And so I had called my mom and I said, hey, is it okay if I ride with Aaron? He'll bring me home. You don't have to pick me up tonight. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. Just be careful, be safe, and, you know, all the parent things or whatever. And she didn't know him. So she was like, sure, not a bit, you know, just let me know what's going on. So we also didn't have cell phones. So I had to call her from like a church payphone. And I remember we had dropped the movies off and we were on our way back to the church. And he was looking at me and we were talking and he ran through a red light.
Because he can't see red.
Right? I mean, I often have to tell him that the light's red. And we got hit by a car so we were going across the bridge on Bookdale and a car came off the highway and hit us.
Oh, no.
And I think that was when Like, it was pretty beat up. Like, I had to call my mom.
Was she so mad?
I had to tell her she had to come get me.
Oh, no.
Because we were in an accident, and that was the first time that Aaron ever met my
First
mom.
impression.
Right. So, yeah. So, that was, like, our first... We weren't dating, but that was our first, like...
Alone time.
Alone time, him trying to bring me home type thing. But, yeah, how about you, Hillary?
Well, so when did you start dating?
Oh. So we met in 99 fall. So by Thanksgiving, I think we were dating. So that was in October.
Okay.
So yeah, November.
And then you were on again, off again?
Yeah. So we broke up in January of 2000.
She's like really got a timeline.
Yeah. I do. And it's very vivid in my brain. And we didn't date again until we were on our trip for high school that I ratted him out.
Okay.
So after that trip, we actually started dating again.
Okay.
So that would have been April of 2000. And then I broke up with him. We went to prom together. And then I broke up with him. And I started dating his friend. And we dated for the next 2 years.
All right.
Oh.
Then after you got back together after that, was that it? Or did you break up with him again?
I think.
Kelly's rubbing her forehead right now.
Wow.
So I think that there was 2 other times.
How? He must really love you.
I broke his heart.
Aww.
So many times. I was terrible. And he pursued me and he kept coming back.
That's awesome.
But in those years that we weren't dating, we were definitely like best friends.
Yeah.
How about you? First date?
So we never dated. I was a lot younger than him, like I said. So we went to church together first. And I always thought he was just the hottest guy that walked through the door. And back then he had an earring, which I loved. And
That's funny.
Yeah.
Aaron had an earring too.
So did Lenny.
It's amazing.
It's like those 2000s, you know, like.
But like a lot of the girls at church liked him, but at that time he was like kind of like an older brother to me because I was just so much younger, an older brother that I thought was hot, I guess. But we just started to become really good friends. And then when I was 18, he moved to Chicago to go to a Christian college there. And I really started to like him then. And, I think that's a scenario where, absence makes the heart grow fonder. But that man confused me.
Oh, man.
It was so bad.
There were many of nights I'm like, can you just let him go?
Yeah.
I don't understand what he's saying. We'd go to Friendly's, eat a bunch of ice cream, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah, yeah. Because he literally rejected me in every single possible way you can be rejected. He said, I'm not ready for a relationship. Kelly and your ice. Every episode. He said, I'm not ready to be in a serious relationship. I had a bad breakup. I look at you like a sister.
Ooh.
I'm just not attracted to you. Like everything a girl hopes to hear when she grows up. But then he would call me, talk to me for hours. Every time he drove to visit home, he would call me on the drive from Chicago to here and talk to me the whole time.
That's a lot of hours.
Yes, and I'm the dork that would be on the phone with him even though he rejected me every 2 seconds. But it was funny because I would let my phone, I would lay it down and I would know when he was going to call me because it was always the same. And I would let it ring for a while first because I didn't want him to think I was waiting for him.
Sure,
So
I get it.
sometimes I put my phone away, I didn't answer, and I waited for him to call back because I'm like, I'm pathetic, but I don't want you to know how pathetic. So then when he would come home, we would hang out at our friend's house a lot, and he would hold my hand. And I'm like, what kind of relationship do you have with your sister? Tommy and Olivia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we hung out with them a lot, and he would hold my hand and, put his arm around me. I was so confused. What in the heck?
That's just a normal brother and
Yeah.
sister relationship.
Oh,
right
yeah.
there.
That's normal.
So I finally, it's funny because it was April of 2005. I was done finally. I'm like, you're super confusing, because he'd go back and forth with, I think I'm ready to like try something with you. And then he'd freak out and change his mind again. And so I'm like, that enough is enough. I can't take this anymore. And so Kelly was like, you're done. My mom was like, you're done. Everybody was like, please stop. And so this guy asked me out from where I was working at the time. He was like, putting in like lighting or sound system or something at the school I was working at, and he asked me out, and I was like, yeah, I should go. So I planned it. Of course, I told my husband that I was gonna go, and he just acted like he didn't care. But then the night that I was supposed to be on that date, I didn't go, but I didn't tell him I didn't go, and he called me over and over and over and over, and I refused to answer the phone. I was so annoyed. So then a couple weeks later, he calls me, and I remember I was sitting in the pantry at my grandma's house, because we were staying with them at the time. That's the only place I could get like privacy. And I never really had like very many, I had like a couple dates, and I had one boyfriend when I was in high school. And other than that, that was like it. So I never had like real serious relationships. And I knew that if he was ever ready to like date me, he was going to want to get married to me, because that's just where he was at. Like the next girl was going to be it. But I didn't ever know if I thought that it would happen. So then I'm in the pantry, and he calls me, and he goes, we're dating now. And I'm like, okay, isn't that something you ask somebody? And he's like, well, I just kind of assumed. So I was like, okay. So then we started dating. Well, like became official in April of 2005. He moved home from Chicago in May of 2005. I went to his mom's house to wait for him to get back, which was really awkward, because his mom and sister only knew me as like a friend from church, and now I'm waiting for him to come home from school.
That you were dating him.
No, nothing. Well, they knew that we were finally, something had happened. I think I emailed his mom, or she emailed me like, I'm so excited. But like for a long time, like I was just like Hillary from church. So then he comes home May of 2005, goes in his room, gets a planner, and says, pick a date. And we went from dating to we were getting married in
But you never got to go on a date.
We never went on a date before we were engaged.
Yeah.
And the funny...
So was that the night that you got engaged? The night that he said,
But he didn't have
pick
a ring.
date?
No, I didn't get a ring until a month before we actually got married.
Okay.
But we were officially engaged the day he got home from Chicago. He said, pick a date. And we did. We also, I know exactly what Kelly's thinking right now.
Yep.
We weren't going to kiss until we got married.
Oh, come
I'm like, this is going to
on.
last like a week.
It lasted 9 days.
9 days?
9 days. Yeah. But then we got married 8 months later. And I mean, my mom was like, what is happening? Kelly's like, are you sure? Everybody's like, he's going to like change his mind again. I'm like, I don't think so. And, yeah, like just because we had so much back and forth for so long. Yeah. Are you sure he's not going to be like, I look at you like a sister again tomorrow?
Oh, my goodness.
But from then on, like we were telling family, hey, this is you've never met him before. This is Chris. This is Hillary. And save the date for December 17th.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
What was the first wedding date? It was way out there.
It was supposed to be like May, and we moved it up to March, and then we moved it up to December.
That's crazy.
In a matter of like 2 weeks. My mom was like, what is happening? It was crazy.
Wow.
So
I thought my story was crazy.
Yeah. So my first actual date with him, we went to, what was that? The Carousel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my favorite place.
I loved it there, yeah.
I wish they still had the carousel around here still.
Yeah, I know. It was awesome. So what about proposals for you guys? Because I just shared mine. It was come home and pick a date.
Wow.
I will say, though, in November when he got me a ring, we had our wedding planned, but he took me back to Blossom to give me the ring.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so that was sweet.
Okay.
So I was working at an architectural firm, and I got a text that morning that just was like, good morning, beautiful, or something like that. And then I got flowers delivered to my work that was like, I can't remember. I have all this stuff. I should have brought it to like read what it said. But it had like a little note. But it was like you could read into it, like, is what's going to happen here. So I got that. And then he like sent me on a scavenger hunt after work.
You called me all day
Yeah.
long.
I was like, I
do you
got these
think's gonna
flowers,
happen?
but then he wasn't like responding to any of my texts, I don't think. It was like really weird. So then I had to go from the architectural firm to Max and Irma's, where I got another envelope. And then I had to go to Build-A-Bear because we had gone there when we were dating and made a stuffed animal. And then I had to go to the church, and a lady there had to give me an envelope. And then I had to go home. And then I was like catching on. So I called home and I'm like, Mom, you got to get my long black boots, and you got to get my red shirt and my black skirt. You got to get it all ready. I think this is going to happen today. I think it's happening today. And she's like, what? So anyway, I get home and she said, well, so I had to go up to my bedroom. And then there was another note, and I had to go to the basement, and he was there, and he was singing, and then he got on a knee and proposed.
Wow.
It was super sweet. So then I had a volleyball game. Right? I think I had a volleyball game that night.
I don't remember that.
And then from there, we went to dinner at the bistro in Kent.
You're like, I have a church volleyball league, so you're going to have to wait.
No, I think I played volleyball. So I called you all day.
All
was
day.
I panicking?
You were just like,
goodness.
oh my gosh, now I'm going here. Is this what's going to happen? Do you think this is what's going to happen all day long? It was amazing.
So you don't know if I showed up for volleyball that night.
I'm sure. I can't remember.
I think I did. I don't remember.
So what song was he singing?
Making Memories of Us.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
sweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about you, Crystal?
So remember, it's been like 6 years. And so we were friends back and forth. And he had gone to Colorado to take care of his grandpa. And when his grandpa passed away, he came home. And so we hung out that whole next year. It was just as friends, back and forth, like literally just friends. And we fought nonstop.
I love it.
And I feel like that was the hardest part for me, because I was like, we would kill each other. I was like, this is terrible.
It's called passion, baby.
What? Right? It was like we were at each other's throats constantly. And so he would just make me mad. And I would just react. And I cried a lot because I just react that way. Anyways, so he was going back to Colorado in 2005 to visit his family after his grandpa had passed away. And so he was going to visit. He was going for 2 weeks, and he invited me to come out for 1 week because I was working full time, and so I could only get like 1 week of vacation. And I had said yes, and I was like, this is awesome. This is going to be a great vacation. I'm going with my friend. Perfect. I'm going to meet his family, like whatever. Not a big deal. Didn't think much about it. But the entire week before he left, we were fighting. And I was like, I'm not even going to go. I am not going on this trip. And I told my friend Tana, and I was like, I cannot go. I was like, this is ridiculous. And she was like, just go and call me if you need a flight home, and I'll book a flight home for you. Okay. So I flew out there all by myself, and I met him at Denver International Airport, which is huge, by the way. And we had the best week. So he took me to all of his childhood favorite places, and I met his uncles, and I met his aunt, and we just had a really good time. And we came home from that trip, and I was like, in my head, I'm like, okay, like this could be something, but I wasn't thinking anything more than like dating. So we went to the mall with my mom one night. It was just me and my mom.
She's like, I'll drive.
And so it was my mom and I. We went to the mall, and I was like, hey, let's just go looking at rings. So we went into like Rogers Jewelers, and she was like, this is crazy. And I'm like, yeah, but you never know. And so this guy's like, if you buy this ring set tonight, then I'll give you a discount. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. And so I called Aaron that night, and he was eating dinner with his friend Joe.
Wait, were you dating at the time?
Nope.
Oh my gosh.
We had just gotten back from Colorado, so like 1 week, maybe 2 weeks after we got back from Colorado. And I called him and I was like, hey, I found a ring.
What?
And if you're interested, they're going to give us a deal tonight. And
Get your butt down here and get this ring.
they're going to close in 30 minutes. You got to get here.
My goodness.
He and his friend paid their bill and left and met us down there.
Oh.
Bought the ring that night.
The ring that's on your finger right now?
The ring that's on my finger
Oh.
right now, the entire set.
Is this QVC right now?
And
is
he
the
said, so we had to get it sized, so I didn't get it that night.
Goodness.
Okay. So I didn't get it that night.
And you also weren't dating.
We were not dating. And my mom is like, what the heck is happening right now? Like, you're not dating him. You don't even like him. What is going on? And I was like, I think that this is what I want.
I think.
Guys, 6 years. Okay? Like 6 years of him chasing me and all these things. And I'm like, this is it. This is the ring. This is the night. Okay, we're buying this. So he bought it. I don't know. This is the craziest story. But he bought it.
Hillary's
We got it
face.
sized.
How did we not ever know this?
I don't know.
Right? And he left for a Dove trip. The job that he's currently working now, he worked when we were friends in 2005. And he left for, I think he left for Las Vegas, but I'm not sure. So, no, he didn't leave. I'm sorry. He had like 2 weeks before he was leaving. So I knew I had a 2-week span of time before I knew I was getting engaged, because I knew that he would not leave without asking me to marry him.
Oh my gosh.
So, on July 17th, 2005, Aaron's brother shows up at my house at 6 a.m. in the morning. My mom knew what was going on and took me into his truck, blindfolded me, and drove me to Sippo Lake, let me out in the parking lot, and said, go find him.
Oh.
And so...
Go find him?
Go
like
find
with the
him.
blindfold on?
No, he took,
Okay,
I
that's
took
good.
the blindfold off. And
Marco!
so...
Like
Right?
911, there's a lady in the parking lot with a blindfold roaming around the parking lot. We need immediate assistance.
Oh my gosh. And so I found him. So we had hung out at Sippo Lake before. So that was like our friend place to hang out or whatever. And I found him on the deck and we talked. And he told me that he couldn't imagine his life with anybody else and that he wanted to live his life with me. And he got down on his knee and asked me to marry him.
Wow.
Aw.
And I said yes.
You should have been like, I don't love the ring.
Right? I'm sorry I picked that out, but that's not the one that I want now.
That is actually super
Aw.
sweet. I cannot
That
believe
is
we've never
sweet.
heard that story.
Yep. And then my mom asked me for the next 6 months if this was really what I wanted to do. Because she
well,
was shocked.
I mean, I can
Well, yeah.
imagine.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
6 years of this guy showing up when I was on a date at my house. I would come home and he'd be having coffee with my mom.
Yeah.
Like, no. Right? Now I'm getting married.
You're like my husband, though. When you knew, you knew.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And I never turned back.
So we dated, how long was it? 9 months.
Okay.
And then we got engaged. And then we got married 8 months later.
Okay.
But
Should we talk about one of the first things he ever did for you?
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's do this. So
So who's going to tell the story?
I am
Okay.
part of it. We'll do Hillary's side and my side. So one of my favorite things to do is to prank people.
What? Are you serious?
Are you kidding me?
You like to prank people?
Oh,
You
you're
just
such a
shocked
brat.
me right now.
So I started talking to Lenny. We were just friends. And We were just friends. And then Hillary's getting married.
Isn't that what they always are?
Yeah.
Just friends.
That's important. Got to be friends first.
Or brother and sister.
Yeah.
Either
Oh my
or.
gosh. So this is a story that will go down in history books. So anyway, this wasn't the first time that I pulled this off. Blake was actually in the first thing that I had. Okay. That doesn't make any sense. But
It's fine.
he pulled this prank on somebody else because we talked him and some guys from church to do this. But anyway, Hillary has a bachelorette party at her grandmother's house.
It was amazing.
And we have half the people are from church and half the people are from work. There are so many people there. I would probably say 40 people.
There was a lot of people.
At least smashed into this house. So I have this awesome idea that I'm like, hey, Lenny. Can you please dress up like a stripper and show up at Hillary's grandma's house? Now, he's never met Hillary before. And be a stripper. And he's like,
Okay.
what did I tell him? I think I told him
You'd kiss him.
I'd kiss him. Yeah, of course. So
If you strip for my friend.
I'll kiss you. So he's like, okay. So we made him a shirt that said psych on it. And he had on like a denim shirt with a handkerchief, like the red and white handkerchief around his neck and a cowboy hat on. Now, Hillary's grandma, I made sure they knew that I had a stripper coming.
Oh my gosh.
And what's funny is there's half the people from the church that, this is, you don't do stuff. You don't even have bachelorette parties. Like,
Yeah.
it is not okay.
No,
Because
no.
all the bad things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, the one girl was like, I told my husband or whatever that it'd be fine because it was her grandma's house and it was a church bachelorette party. Nothing bad was going to happen. There wasn't going to be any strippers.
And what we always called them, at least in my family, were purified dirty parties. So, like, my grandma had a condom corsage on. I think I said that in the last episode. Like, it was super goofy, but just like it was silly. And
It was
fun.
clean.
Yeah.
It was clean fun.
Yeah.
So Lenny shows up and he knocks on the door and Hillary's like in the middle of like opening gifts or something. And he knocks on the door and he comes in and what?
I'll go now.
Okay.
He has a boombox. He walks into the middle of the room. My grandma's like, "Woo!"
Grandma was so excited.
And I was like, oh gosh, what's happening? And I should have known, I should have known, but I didn't. And he puts his boombox down on the floor and he goes, I get paid by the hour. And he turns on the song, It's Getting Hot in Here, so take off all your clothes. All of my work friends are pulling out dollar bills.
No.
Pulling out dollar bills. All
Stop.
the church friends.
Squealing.
Yeah, all the
Stop.
church friends are like, oh gosh, like
I gotta
struggling. He comes
not
over.
looking, they're like covering their eyes.
Yeah. He comes up, my grandma's dancing like a lunatic. He comes over and puts the cowboy hat on my head, and I'm literally like trying to crawl over the seat. I was mortified.
I can only imagine.
My face was bright red. There's pictures of it. And then he dances
He
around
takes
for a
the
little bit.
handkerchief off and threw it at her.
Yes. Yes. And I'll never forget, actually, like, he was walking towards me, and I was like, I shook my head no at him, and he's like, well, okay. And he, like, lifts his arms up, like, if you don't want this. And then he rips open his shirt, and it says, psych. And I was like, all the church people are like, and all the work people are like, wait, what? Like, we got our dollar bills out.
like, this is not
Man.
real.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, that was so awesome.
That's how you know he
And
loved you.
I know.
Yeah.
How sweet.
Yes. So did you kiss him?
I don't kiss and tell.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Come on. That night?
I don't remember. I'll have to ask Lenny.
So were
Colin.
you dating or?
We weren't. We were
Okay.
just friends, so I don't think I
so
kissed
that was
him
in
yet.
the in-between.
Yeah, so she talks people into this stuff.
But I don't
Wow.
usually offer I'll kiss you if you do this. It's usually like,
Well,
hey, you want to
that's-
pull a prank on somebody?
Let me ask my husband about the time he
No
I'm just kidding.
way. No way.
I'm
So,
just kidding. He
yeah.
was a stripper for her too. Not for her.
Whoa.
But
Wow.
This is
Let me
getting
clarify.
crazy.
So somebody else was getting married, and Blake had two other friends, and I'm like, hey, can you guys show up at this? It was crazy. It was my My
What
cousin
makes
was
you do
getting
these
married.
things?
It was amazing.
And it was at her pastor's house. And I'm like, can you guys just go in there? And one of them had a trench coat on. One of them dressed up like a sailor. And then Chris had like a pea coat on.
Oh,
Can you
my
even see him
goodness.
doing
It
that?
was
No,
so funny.
I'm so confused right now.
He
Like,
would never do that now.
I mean, they didn't do anything. They just
No,
walked
but
in there,
still.
and
It's
it
just a
was the
trick.
shock factor
Yeah.
of like, what?
yeah.
So, yeah, I pull all the pranks.
Yeah.
Until
So, what was your bachelorette party like?
it was terrible.
Do you know about her bachelorette party?
I
I
think I
got
know one
payback.
thing.
She got it because
I got it good.
there is another time I got her then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because she just thought there's no way. Can I tell this story?
Yeah.
She thought there's no way that they'll be able to get me. I'm the one that has all the tricks. And so I called her friends and I said, this is expensive, but we're all going in on this together. And we are hiring a female that teaches like sexy dancing for your husband.
It was called X Exercise. She had a shirt on that said X Exercise that she would teach a whole class of people.
Yeah. And so when I called her,
Oh my gosh.
I called her and I'm like, listen, you're going to have to be okay with like, this is funny. We're going to be making fun of it. We're not going to be taking this seriously. And we don't want to all learn
Well,
it.
she made me take it seriously.
Yeah.
There was no laughing in her
I just
face.
didn't want her to be like offended by us.
Sure.
So I'm like, we're all going to sit on the couch and watch this and laugh about it. And she's like, well, I usually teach classes. I'm like, not this time. So we made Kelly learn the dance. She's like crawling across the floor.
But what's crazy is we had just bought our house. Like I wasn't living there because we didn't get married yet. So Lenny was living there. We did not have blinds and like red was a color. So I painted my wall red and I'm on the main road in Mogador on 532. So everybody can see.
Oh,
I'm
man,
like standing
red-
there dancing.
red
My
light
dad
special.
shows up.
Yeah.
My dad showed up. My mom and dad were looking in the window.
She's like dancing on the chair. It was amazing.
Crawling across the floor.
Yeah.
Side note. I actually even talked my dad into showing up as a
To be a stripper. It was the best thing. It was the best thing I've ever seen. He had an umbrella as a hat.
You know those little hat umbrellas?
Oh my goodness.
But he put pantyhose on his face so you couldn't tell it was him.
Russ.
It was amazing.
Oh my goodness. The
so
things
good.
you guys come up with.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was good
it was
stuff.
good times.
Wow.
But yeah, I had to do some crazy dances.
So super quick, what was your wedding like? Was it big? Was it small? Was it fancy? Was it not?
Yes.
Yes to which one?
All of the above. So,
It was big and small?
big and fancy,
Okay.
not small. I mean, I guess it was, I don't know. There was like 200 people,
Okay.
and it was at Raintree Country Club.
That's nice.
And we did, like, I made all the favors. I wanted chair covers. And so, like, chair covers cost a lot of money. And so we opted out of, like, having pop and just had coffee and, like, water and iced tea instead of a pop bar because it was, like, the same. So I wanted the chair covers and I wanted all the fancy things. And so I opted out all of that. And, yeah, it was the best dance party that I have ever had.
That's all. I'm sure.
So-
Did your knees bleed at all that night?
No.
From sliding across the dance floor? like
No.
like
No.
you do?
I didn't slide across the dance floor, but I definitely had like a couple special dances that my friend and I did, and
That's
was-
fun.
it was super fun. Everyone at the wedding reception was on the dance floor.
That's awesome.
It was pretty awesome.
So, my wedding, my mother hijacked the guest list because she's paying for it. So I'm like, hey, Mom, I want this friend and this friend. She's like, no, like this person that you've never met has to come because that's my friend.
So I remember I was a part of those conversations.
We had 375.
Wow.
We had 375 people, and 362 of them are my mother's friends.
That's not true.
That's
kidding.
amazing.
I'm kidding, but they threw, like, my mom is really good at like planning parties and stuff. So we had, it was at Nick Anthony's Nick Anthony's?
Oh, like
Nope.
on Manchester Road over
Yes,
there? Yeah.
yep.
I think it's something different now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It was there, and it was funny because we had a dry wedding. So when we got the DJ, I'm like, we have a dry wedding. And they're like, oh, man, we're going to send our best DJ because you can't get anybody to dance at the dry wedding. Okay.
had
That
a dry
dance
wedding, too.
floor was packed
It
the
was.
entire time, and it was amazing.
Yep.
But it was just really cool. I had my uncle, Butch, and because he never had kids, I asked my dad if he'd be okay if him and my uncle walked me down the aisle. So he said yes. So they both walked me down. And it was funny because we were... So Josh lost our rings, remember? Or somebody lost our rings, remember?
I do not remember that.
So they were like ironing all the pants, and the rings were in the pants, and they fell out. Well, I didn't know this was happening. I thought you knew.
I did not know.
They were searching all over for the rings. They did find them.
Ooh.
Yeah. So anyway, but then we all are getting ready to go down the aisle, and I'm standing there with my Uncle Butch and my dad, and everybody's going down, and they close the doors, and then they open them, and I start hearing this weeping. It's so loud. Lenny could not control himself. It was so sweet. He just sobbed. It was so cute.
Lenny.
Lenny.
Your
So-
photographer was like, money shot. That's what
I
he told
know.
us. That's a money shot.
Nobody's quite cried like Lenny for our photographer, we had a really good photographer.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good party. We had a good party.
How'd you get home or back to your hotel from your reception?
So the ride to the hotel forgot to take us. So my mom, everybody's cleaning up. Like everybody's cleaning up, and I'm like, we don't have a way to get to the hotel, which was like the Quaker Square Hotel in like downtown Akron.
Okay.
And so Hillary's like, well, I'll take you. Like, I'll take you. So it was Chris and Hillary driving the car. And
we didn't drive the car together, but we were in the front.
Yeah. And then it was me, Lenny, and Alicia in the back seat.
My sister. Her dress is like poof in the back
Alicia's
seat.
here. It's me and Lenny. It was amazing. So,
Oh my goodness.
and then they dropped us off at the hotel, and then I think they had to pick us back up to take us to the airport like
A few
4
hours later.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's some good friendship right
It
there.
is. It is.
Yeah, it is.
It was fun.
Hillary.
Oh boy. So we got married very quickly and very young. We did not have any money. Everything was a gift. The DJ was a gift. The photographer was a gift. The food was a gift. The cake was a gift. Everything big was a gift. And we invited everybody I've ever known. And so it was a big wedding. And it was also a dry reception because obviously nobody's giving that as a gift. And the DJ decided, I don't do dry weddings. The person who gave me a gift. So he showed
you
up.
serious?
He was drunk when he came. But anyway, I was extremely sick because we got married in December. And I had to do everything by myself. So I was like making the bouquets, and we made the programs, and I made the
Didn't
gifts.
they make the
and
programs
the
like the night before?
Got no sleep. Everything we
Did you
did.
sleep at my house?
Yeah, we all did. It was
Yeah.
like a slumber party. And because I was 16 when I got married. So I did slumber
You were
parties.
not.
No, I was 20. Was I 20? I was 20. So I was very sick, and it was just like a cold, so I'm like, it'll be fine. But then by the time my wedding day came, I was like extremely sick. My lymph nodes were swollen in my throat, and I couldn't hear out of one ear, and so I'm like taking tons of cold medicine. And then like the adrenaline hits, and so like we got through the day, and everything was good, and the wedding was it was beautiful, even though we didn't like do anything on a high budget. And we get to the reception, and the DJ's toasted because he wasn't okay with our dry wedding. And he has absolutely none of the songs that I asked for. He starts playing the first dance. It cuts off halfway in the middle. That was, I think, during the bridal party dance. Then he cuts off the dance during the garter toss. So I just start sobbing. Like I run out of the reception hall. I'm like bawling. So my mom and my Aunt Julie came to the rescue, and for the garter toss, they're like, da-na-na-na, and they're like singing that.
Oh,
So they fixed
my
it.
goodness.
I think my Aunt Julie or my mom, I can't remember, might have like told him, dude, get it together. And then it got better after that. So we danced the night away. It was fun. It wasn't packed, but it was still fun. There was like people on the dance floor.
It was pretty packed.
Yeah. And then the wedding was over. The reception ends. The adrenaline's gone. And I start crying again because now I'm exhausted. I feel guilty because I didn't plan for anybody to clean up. So our moms are cleaning up. And it was like everything because we did everything on our own. My mom's like, just go. It's fine. You probably should go to the hospital. So in my wedding dress, we go to the ER.
No.
And yeah, they gave me an antibiotic, which I now know that I was allergic to.
Oh.
And so the whole way to our honeymoon, because someone gifted us with a cabin in Tennessee, we were driving through like the windy roads. I couldn't eat because my throat hurt, and the antibiotic was making me throw up. And so I'm like, this is amazing. And he was like super sweet though, because I came home from my honeymoon a virgin, everyone. Only I could come home from my honeymoon a virgin. I waited my whole life for that special moment, and I was so sick and came home from my honeymoon a virgin. But he said to me, I said in sickness and in health.
Aww.
And it was super sweet, but I'm not a virgin anymore. Just
Well, that's good. Well, you have 5 kids, so I don't know where they would have came from.
That's awesome.
So after the honeymoon, what was it like adjusting to moving in together?
we had very different ways of living.
Yeah.
So it was quite an adjustment. I had a lot of things, and he didn't have very many things. And so I took up most of our bedroom and the spare bedroom of our apartment with all of my things. And, I mean, it was just difficult.
Yeah.
Because, like, you don't know how people do things. You think you know everything about somebody
Until you live with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's just differences. And he's clean. He takes care, cleaned up after himself. And I was not that way at all.
That's crazy now to us because that is totally who you are now.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. But I've been married to Aaron for almost 18 years. So, but yeah, it was challenging.
Yeah.
So being married to Lenny is quite an experience because we got married a little older. At least I was. So we bought a house and we're in the house and I just remember this is weird. I'm going to bed with him, waking up with him, and then we're eating breakfast and he dunks all of his cereal. If there's cereal, he has to dunk it all before he scoops it up and eats it. I'm
I'm a dunker.
But tap every time. It's
in between every bite?
Yeah, he's dunking all the cereal. I'm like, what is happening? And then so it was a big joke. And then the other thing that he would do that I'm like, who did I marry? Who is this? He would do the robot. He would just start making these robot moves out of nowhere. We're sitting at dinner. I don't know if he's nervous or he's like, what have I done? I am a robot.
What have I done?
No, I'm just kidding. It was quite funny.
Wow.
But just those rhythms of life though, because I was I would wake up early and he just wouldn't. And Saturdays I'm up, ready to go. Let's clean the house. He's like, this is Saturday. What is happening? But the biggest challenge we had were family holidays. Oh man, because it's you got to be at grandma's house at 1:00 on Christmas Day or there's a problem. So, but it all worked out. Yeah. But yeah, the robot and the dunking of the cereal is quite
That's new information that I did not know. I think my biggest challenge was I was really young and never lived on my own. Mm-hmm. Did either of you live on your own?
I did not.
I lived 1 year outside of my parents' house, but not before I got married. So I was living at home when I got married.
Okay, yeah. So I also never dated this person, right? So I was still really trying to get to know him in this romantic sense anyway. But a big part for me was I had a pretty good job at a pretty young age, and I made good money for my age. And I didn't have a lot of bills. And then I marry someone who is now going to have an opinion on what I spend my money on. And it was good, but I didn't understand it at the time. So we would fight a lot because back then we saved all the receipts and he balanced the checkbooks and I had to like turn my receipts in, not in like a bad way, but just like he was balancing everything. So I gave him my receipts and he's like, I'm sorry, you spent $100 on Easter baskets? And I'm like, yeah, for my friends, I get them gifts. And yeah, it was ridiculous. I got people
I
Easter
never
baskets.
got an Easter
Yes, you did.
I didn't.
Remember that memory thing that you were talking about? You definitely got an Easter basket.
She's telling you, remember.
So money was a big issue for us, and just like he wasn't the boss of me. So
Is anybody the boss of you?
And when you move in with your husband, like you have someone else that like gets a say in things, and I'm like, I don't like this part. I'm in charge.
I would agree.
Yeah, it was hard.
I think it was hard that way, too.
Yeah.
We fought a lot.
But let's talk about good things. What do you admire most about your husband? After all these years, so many great things to choose from.
I'll go. So the thing I admire the most about Lenny is that he seeks God, and he spends a lot of time in the Word and praying, and half the time I think he's crazy for the ideas that he wants to do. But like over the years, I've learned like he is a man that seeks after God, and he's not going to do something that's drastic or crazy unless he knows that this is what he's supposed to do. So I just admire that he's always seeking after him and following his lead, no matter how crazy God pulls him out and says, I want you to do this. He will do it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I feel like my husband is super hardworking. So he's somebody that will always put us first in that way. He will provide for us no matter what it takes. Like if he has to be completely exhausted and tire himself out and work 4 jobs to take care of his family, like that's what he's going to do. And he's definitely a good provider and really wants, like I said earlier, well, I didn't say it earlier in this one, in previous episodes, that he really wants like our kids to have things that we didn't. So he really like makes an effort to take care of us.
I admire Aaron for his dreaming. Even though it's always been a contentious part of our relationship, because yes, I was a dreamer, but reality kind of hits you and then you're like, oh, so like reality is reality. And so that dreaming part of me kind of went away, but he dreams and processes and thinks about all the things that like I never put extra time or thought into, and he leads that way through his dreams. He it is admirable to watch him lead with such like determination and dreaming for his family, the best things that he wants, and to provide for us that way. Most of his dreams have been regarding how he's going to take care of us. And so I do admire all of that.
Yeah. So as we finish up, if you could offer your best advice, quick advice, not something super crazy, to newlyweds or people getting ready to get married or even that have been married for a while, what would your advice be?
My biggest advice would be to take time with each other, especially when there's kids. Like, you just need to have that time to be close to each other and listen to each other without all the crazy going on. So you can be on the same page and just keep that fire burning.
I would say that my advice to others would be to be friends first and always. So Aaron and I started out as friends, and we are still friends. And I would call him my best friend even today. Yeah. And that's so important because love comes and goes, it fades away. Attraction fades away sometimes, it comes back. But if you're friends, I feel like that root is always there. And so, friendship.
Yeah. So I have two things. I would say, kind of like what you're saying, always make a choice on the days that maybe don't feel a certain way, because every day you're not going to feel like you did when we're talking about all our early stories and things. As time goes by and life happens, every day you don't feel all of those mushy-gushy feelings. You still make a choice. But also, communication is super important. So making sure you talk through things and that you share how you're feeling. And if you have expectations, no matter what you've been told, they cannot read our minds. We have to tell them how we're feeling and vice versa. They need to tell us how they're feeling. So we need to make sure that we're communicating. Yes. That would be probably what I would say would be the most important.
Awesome.
So remember, marriage is a journey full of ups and downs, but with communication, understanding, and love, it is possible to work through obstacles. Until next time, stay connected, stay strong, and stay in love.
Thank you for listening to the Calm, the Storm, the Whimsy podcast. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram. Stay tuned for our next episode. You know how you hear yourself on on a video or something? And
I know.
Screechy?
That's how I feel.
I don't feel screechy.
A little groundhog.
The Whimsy podcast.
Groundhog?
Is that what a groundhog sounds like?
The Whimsy podcast.
And her nostrils flared when she did it.